Hey everyone, and welcome back. So this is Module 1, Building Critical Care Confidence and Adopting the Critical Care Nurse Mentality. So there are so many things we have to cover here, but I'm going to break it down into 4 sections. The first section will be Adopting the Right Mentality and Battling Imposter Syndrome. 2 will be Actions and Concepts to Increase Confidence. And 3 is Present Yourself Confidently and Professionally. And the last one will be dealing with workplace and lateral violence. So the first concept we're going to be going through again is adopting the right mentality and battling something called imposter syndrome. So have you guys ever heard of imposter syndrome yet? Well, basically, imposter syndrome is when you have a lot of doubts and when you don't actually believe you should be where you currentI'm So if you're a critical care nurse, battling imposter syndrome as a critical care nurse, or sounds like, oh, I don't belong here. I'm not smart enough to be here. I'll never make it. And basically you self-sabotage yourself to the point of not doing well or making mistakes or not showing up well enough to do well in critical care. The first step is that you have to stop comparing yourself to the nurses who have been doing this for 5 or more years. Every single nurse who's in critical care has been a new critical care nurse. And don't let them tell you that they did everything perfect, because believe me, they did not. And if they told you or if they tell you they were the perfect new nurse, they are lying to you. So don't compare yourself to where you should be in 5 years. Don't compare yourself to where you should be in 2 years, because believe me, it takes at least 2 years, yes, 2 years in critical care to start feeling relatively confident and competent in what you are doing, because this is a very advanced field. So just remember to give yourself a little bit of grace when you are looking to compare yourself. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday or who you want to be tomorrow, but not where you should be in 2 to 5 years, because that's not fair to yourself at all. So you also need to visualize the nurse who you want to be. Now, I'm sure there's a couple nurses who you know or who you aspire to be, or who make you feel warm and fuzzy inside whenever you are around, or whoever you want to be. You need to visualize that nurse. Visualize who you want to be. And I'm not talking about manifesting everything. You need to visualize who you need to be, so therefore your actions and your thoughts can line up to become that person. So you are already making actions by investing in yourself by doing this course. You are investing in the time, you are showing up, you are here, you are watching this video. So therefore your thoughts, your goals, and your vision are currently aligned. So make sure that you are continuing to stay aligned with your goals by visualizing where you want to be. So therefore you can still be successful every single week through this course, and then when you come back to review things as need be. You also really need to affirm the nurse who you already are. So affirm the nurse you are. You need to also take pride in your accomplishments and appreciate where you have gotten so far. So a lot of the time, you will hear a lot of nurses within your unit basically try to tear you down. No one likes to do affirmation. You'll get a compliment here and there. Sometimes it's backhanded. The critical care world is not a comfortable, cozy world. These are very strong personality human beings. They are strong advocates not only for themselves but for their patients, and it does take a specific personality type to be successful within critical care. So when you are new to this environment, there's a lot that you have to do to affirm yourself, to make sure you aren't looking too far outside of yourself to get the affirmation, because in this field, you probably won't be getting that specific affirmation from your entire team. You'll probably find a couple nurses who do give you the affirmation or who do give you the time to give you really good constructive feedback, but you probably won't be complimented every single time you're doing what you should supposed to be doing. Just because this is a very high-paced place, you probably won't be seeing that. So that's why you need to learn to affirm yourself, take pride in your accomplishments. Okay, you got accepted and you are now currently or are going to be applying for a critical care nurse position. So can you just give yourself a round of applause? I'm sure believe me, been there. It's a scary process to want to go into critical care, think you want to go into critical care, go through the interview and the application process and then land that job. It takes a lot to just do that. So just recognize that within yourself and be prideful and appreciate the hard work that went into getting there, because you're going to have to go back to that. And this is something that you don't only have, or you shouldn't only do when you begin. This is something that you should do every single week. You need to recognize what you've learned, recognize the time you've put in, so therefore you can build upon your accomplishments and build upon your affirmations. So then you have a very strong understanding of who you are, where you're going, and what you hope to accomplish at the end of this course and through your critical care career. I want you to also question your inner critic. There is the right time to be critical on yourself, and there's the wrong time to be critical on yourself. So I need you to understand when it's okay and when it's not okay. Now, if there's something at work you probably should have caught because it was a lack of knowledge or something, that is when it's okay to be constructively critical to yourself. You need to be self-aware enough to be able to identify what you do know and what you don't know. And this is very important because it's good to know what you know, but it's even more important to be able to recognize what you don't know. So therefore you can use your resources appropriately in order to move forward and to be able to determine how you're going to get to know what you don't know. And on top of that, you need to be able to be okay with saying, hey, I don't know this. I'm going to go to my charge nurse. I'm going to find another resource nurse, or I'm going to ask someone else, just so I don't put this patient in a compromising situation because I'm pretending to know. Now, I don't think any of you are any of those kind of people, but it's important to know because sometimes we want to trust our gut, but it's okay. If you aren't entirely sure, find someone to ask. Even if they make you feel bad for asking, you did the right thing, because there's nothing wrong with second guessing or by getting a second opinion or by talking to another nurse, because it is your duty to provide care to that patient. It is your duty to provide safe and competent care to that patient. So just remember that it is okay to ask questions. So I expect you to do so just to make sure that you feel safe. So you also need to adopt this thing called the growth mindset. So you need to be okay with understanding that where you are now is not where you're going to be next year. But where you are now is definitely going to be different from where you are next week, and the week after that, and the week after that. You are going to be building upon your skills, building upon your knowledge every single week throughout this course. And also, when you continue to come back through the course, when you look through the review content at the end, you can do a refresher every 3 to 6 months on things that you would like to back on. But again, this content will always be yours after you have invested in this content. You will always have this content, and you will be able to come back to it at any time. And you also need to really set yourself up for success. If you are really busy during this semester, if you're doing other things, I really suggest time blocking at least the minimal amount of time required to get through the content. Now, this is going to change every single week. I'm not going to throw 25 hours of content at you. This is going to be self-paced. So I will have different options for what you are able to do during that week, but there will be a minimal amount of content with an estimated amount of time to accomplish that. So then my expectations for you would be then to time block that out within your calendar to make sure that you have the time to get through the content, so that you can ask good questions during the Facebook Live, so that you can show up well, and so that you can get the most from this course. And so with that said, you need to be prepared. Courses are a lot of work. This course is commitment. It's not overwhelming commitment. This whole program is based on decreasing the amount of overwhelm and increasing the amount of support. So you will have access to the entire Facebook group. If you have any questions, if you need a vent on something, there will be specific threads. And I really hope you guys use this Facebook group to the full benefit as you guys are going through the content and going through shifts. Lean on each other. That's okay. You not only need to be prepared for this course, you need to be prepared at work. Now, depending on what unit you're in, that's going to look different. You need to be doing what you need to be doing for that particular unit by the unit standard. You need to be there 15 minutes ahead of time, be there 15 minutes ahead of time. If your scheduling if your scheduler is okay or your manager is okay with you getting there right at 7 o'clock, then do that. There's many different things that you can do in order to show up to your shift prepared. And that will be one of the PDFs that I will be linking down below, just to make sure that you are showing up prepared, because that will help to eliminate a lot more stress in your lives already. The other thing that you need to learn to do well is to be adaptable to the environment. There is nothing that will ever be the exact same every single day when you walk into the critical care unit. So when you are there, you need to be able to understand that this patient can change at any moment. A code could happen at any moment. And you need to be okay with being flexible. If you're someone who does not do well with bending and shifting and having to adapt and to reprioritize different patient interventions, then this is something you need to work on, and this is something you need to identify early in order to be successful in critical care. If you are not adaptable, it's really hard to do well in critical care. So I highly recommend, if this is something that you think might be a weakness of yours, you really need to see what you can do. And maybe this is a private conversation you can have with me outside of the Facebook group if this is something you want extra help with. The next thing you need to do is to think and to act positively. There's so much going on in critical care. There's 100 burning fires going on at any moment. And if you're responsible for 17 of those burning fires, from your own 2 patients, then you need to be able to think and act positively in and outside of the workplace. If you bring negative energy with it into work, it will definitely reflect upon the way you're able to care for those patients. You need to be able to act positively at work, and then on your way home from work, you need to be able to leave whatever happened relatively at work. This is something I personally struggled with. I did not do a really good job at separating work from home. And this is something that I've just been able to do recently, probably within the recent 6 months, just because of the extra stress of the pandemic. It was something that I had to force myself to learn. And that's why I'm able to now talk about it, because it's something that I was finally able to bring into my life. Because when you're not able to separate work from home, then you're constantly in work mode, and work in the ICU or critical care is very stressful, and to live in that constant state of mind is not healthy, and you will not be the same human being you were before you started critical care if you don't know how to separate work from home. Now, I'm not saying you're not ever allowed to grieve what happened at work or to reflect upon what happened at work when you are home. There are very, very, very healthy ways of coping and with debriefing and with talking about what happened at work within the right context. I just don't want you guys spending 6 hours after every single shift thinking about work. You need to be able to find a way to turn your mind off. Even after this course, you need to go to work, spend a little bit of time on this course, and then shut your mind off and do something that brings you joy or something that brings you complete relaxation. There's many different things to do, but that's one of the things you're going to learn how to do in Module 2. So you need to also understand that you as a nurse are not a robot. You are a human being. So what that means is that there will be a time where you make a mistake, and it's okay. It is not ideal to make mistakes. However, it is inevitable that one day you will make a mistake at work. Now, you need to be able to own your mistake, tell the right people about what happened in order to not mask something that you did accidentally. And again, if any nurse ever tells you that they did not make a mistake, they are again lying to you. And because we are humans, and so it's a really hard thing. None of us want to make a mistake. I've made mistakes by the grace of God. It was okay. I told who I needed to tell. Patient was just fine. But you need to be able to own what you have done to that patient, or you need to be able to own those mistakes, and don't ever try to hide them, or don't ever try to cover them up, because that's when worst patient outcomes actually happen. So the last piece here with adopting the right mentality and battling imposter syndrome is by killing the negative thoughts and doubts in your head with action. So what I want you to do is, if you are having, anxiety or worries or doubts or negative thoughts, I want you to write all those things down, no matter what they are. So write them down. Oh, I don't think I'm going to be a good nurse. Oh, I didn't do well today. Da, 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 da. Whatever it is, I want you to write it down. and then think of a way that you can improve that. For me, I used to deal with really bad pre-shift anxiety. So an example, what I would do is write, okay, I'm having really bad pre-shift anxiety. What can I do about that? Well, the actions I can take for pre-shift anxiety include understanding that, yeah, I am going to be walking to a crazy environment. I work in critical care. Nothing about critical care is really predictable, right? I understand that. Like, I'm not walking into a predictable environment, something I have to understand. So, something else I can do in order to reduce pre shift anxiety, I can spend 5 minutes closing my eyes and doing a really simple or really easy meditation to calm my mind, calm all those thoughts and worries. And then, if there's anything I'm particularly worried about seeing, then maybe I'll spend another 5 to 10 minutes looking up that specific issue up so that I feel more prepared walking into my shift. You ever feel that ominous feeling of, I think a cold is going to happen. And I don't remember last time I looked up my ACLS stuff. Like, do I really know all my meds? But if that's something you aren't familiar with, then I highly suggest looking that up, especially if you have that red heart on your badge. That means you are competent and that you feel comfortable providing ACLS care to your critical care patient. And so that's expectation for you to do very well if you wear that red heart on your badge. So don't be afraid to review for that. If that's one of the reasons why you have pre-shift anxiety, then try to end the pre-shift anxiety by looking up how to run a code, by looking up your ACLS algorithms. There's many different things that you can do, and there's always an action to take with any negative thought or doubt you are currently having. That's one of the mindset shifts that I hope is going to happen for you over the period of time here.